right, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. I've got a couple of interesting stories for you guys today. The first story that I have for you guys today, Dennis James posted a photo that got a lot of people talking. Obviously, this is a picture of Big Ramy, his lower body. You can see the separation in his legs from the side. And I've seen a lot of people reacting to this picture, saying how detailed and defined Ramy looked, and I've got to agree. And he's got the caption, "Let's go." He tags Big Ramy, and he tags Chad Nichols. But I've got some unfortunate news for you guys. He does look really good. He does look really detailed in this picture. But it is a photo from last year. This photo, this side chest, if you zoom out, this was taken from last year's Olympia prep. So we've already seen this photo. It's already been posted. You guys can tell clearly the table and the chairs in the background are exactly the same. You can even see like a little box or package sitting on top. It's the exact same photo, exact same hotel room. So yeah, Ramy does look good in this picture. He looks separated. He looks conditioned. He looks lean. Well, that's because it's from last year's Olympia prep where he looked the best he's ever looked from a conditioning standpoint. And like I said, it's going to be an uphill battle for Ramy because I really think this year he needs to have a similar, not similar, but the same physique as last year or better to retain the title. I think Ramy cannot come in off here. Now, there's also this video posted to Dennis James's Instagram page where he says this is the last back workout for Ramy before the Olympia. And again, you can't really see much. So I feel like they're trolling us a little bit. They're teasing us a little bit. Dennis did post that picture of Ramy's leg shortly after my video yesterday where I said we hadn't really seen much from Ramy. So maybe that was just a little bit of jest from Dennis James. But the picture is old. It does not tell us really anything at all recent of Ramy. The video doesn't really tell us much. Really all that we can see in a lot of the updates is Ramy's face, so we've kind of just got to speculate on the whole death face thing. But overall, I think Ramy's odds of defending are good. I think he looks good from what I've seen so far. And right now, I guess you could say I'm bullish on Big Ramy. I think he would be he would be one of the safe bets, obviously, to win the show. I think things are looking good for him so far. In all likelihood, we might see a repeat this year. But again, I have not done my final Olympia predictions yet. Those will probably be coming this weekend, so stay tuned. But in the meantime, comment your Olympia predictions in the comment section down below. And also, just give the video a thumbs up for me. Now, next up in the news, I want to talk about Bryan Jones again. We've got another physique update from Bryan. He did not place where we wanted him to place in the Arnold Classic, and I think the main reason for that was his condition was off. He looked very, I'm not going to say very soft, but he looked soft. He looked a bit watery. It was no question as soon as he came out, he was off. He still was in the first call-out. He still was fifth, I believe, at the Arnold. So at the end of the day, he was certainly still a guy in the conversation, but it wasn't anything like what we expected him to look. I think the standard and the bar for him was set much higher. Now, this update, this side chest, which is really one of his most solid poses, really showing off the upper body size that he has. This is 9 days out of the Olympia. So what we're really going to be looking for from Bryan, and he got fifth at last year's Olympia too, if he wants to improve upon that fifth place placing last year and redeem himself from the Arnold Classic showing, we really need to see a tighter, but more specifically, a drier version of Bryan Jones at the Olympia. He needs to be tighter. He needs to be drier. His conditioning needs to be better than what we saw at the Arnold by a significant margin. And to me, like I said, it was kind of like the Akeem Williams thing, kind of that watery film on his physique between the skin and the muscle that really kind of hid the definition. That's really what I saw from Bryan. So that's really what we're going to be looking for is hopefully he dries out over the next 9 days before the Olympia. And I'm pretty optimistic on him having a high Olympia placing this year, and I'm still pretty optimistic on him beating his placing last year of fifth this year. But I would say he definitely needs to be tighter, and I think he knows that. Now, next up in the news, GoodVito, Vitaly Ugonikov. He's been competing in Russia. He's been winning shows. But again, they're not shows that have anything to do with the IFBB over here or the NPC over here. So it's really something entirely different that he's competing in. He is a Russian phenom. He is a phenomenal bodybuilder. He's very young. He's got a ton of potential. He's massive. I think he could hang with some IFBB pros today. He commented recently on one of Ian Valier's posts, and he says, "Just wait, guys. I will come soon." So Michael Krizo is a guy that we talk about a lot. He's a little bit later on in his career with the IFBB Elite Pro. We are the IFBB Pro League. I think it's a little bit less likely that Michael would make the transition. Now, if you look at GoodVito, he doesn't really have that established of a record in these other organizations. He's a younger guy. He's really got his whole career ahead of him realistically. In my opinion, if you want to compete with the best of the best and you want to really maximize how much money, how much publicity, how much exposure you'll have as a professional bodybuilder, it does not get bigger than the Olympia stage. So the best career move, if I were a guy like GoodVito and I had the size that he had, the potential that he had, coming over, or at least trying to come over to the IFBB and turn pro would be like a no-brainer for me. So at least it looks like he does intend to do it. He's keeping up with the younger guys over here in the IFBB, like Ian, like Hunter, like Nick Walker, like Justin Rodriguez. He's keeping up with these guys, and I really do think this video, like you're watching right now, this is GoodVito at his most recent competition. I think with a little tighter conditioning, he has the size to hang with some of these guys right now. I do think he needs to work on his conditioning from some of the appearances that I've seen, especially to hang with guys in here like Justin came in pretty good shape. Nick came in here peeled. Ian and Steve, from what I've seen from GoodVito, he doesn't bring that crazy crisp level of conditioning yet. And we're way ahead of ourselves. He would have to come over here in the NPC and turn pro and go through all these hoops to actually get to an IFBB pro stage. So it would probably be a while. Realistically, the NPC wouldn't be too hard for him, but for him to get into a show like the Arnold or the Olympia, we're talking way down the line, and that's if he even gets in the IFBB. But it looks like he does at least have that intention. And that's just kind of the reason why I cover some of these guys and the other organizations that I really think are talented bodybuilders. Like, these guys are championship world-class bodybuilders. Michael Krizo and GoodVito being two examples. And that's why I talk about them in these videos, because I do honestly think there's a potential they could come into the IFBB and they could do very, very well immediately. So if one of them does do that, I don't want everybody to be like, well, that was a surprise. That came out of nowhere. Who were these guys? How do we not know these guys were coming? We know. We're watching these guys. Even in the other organizations, these guys that are really at the top of the heap, the cream of the crop, like GoodVito and Michael, we're keeping an eye on them because I think they might show up, especially GoodVito, might pop up in the IFBB one day, and we don't want to be caught by surprise with a guy like a physique like that coming out of nowhere. I really think he could win some high-level shows with some, like I said, tighter conditioning. But anyway, that's the deal with that. Now, we also did get a physique update from Chris Bumstead. I believe this is a more recent one because his face is actually shaved here. He was growing out his beard, but you can tell in this update he trimmed it off. So likely a week, 2 weeks out from the Olympia. He looks crazy. Chris, to me, looks the best he's ever looked. He's looked the biggest he's ever looked in these updates that we've been seeing from him lately. But look at this picture, man. He's got everything going. Goon light, vascularity, striations. Chris has got it. I don't think there's really any argument. I don't think anybody right now is betting against Chris. Who here thinks that someone else is going to win the Classic Physique Olympia this year? I mean, I just think that Chris has it in the bag, and he's clearly got the confidence because he certainly hasn't been, selling us short of physique updates, which is why I'm kind of curious about the big Ramy thing. Like, Chris does get social media on a different level than Ramy. I think Chris is really involved, and it's really a big part of his job. It is with Ramy too, but Chris is really one of the biggest rising social media stars in the IFBB that there's been in a really, really long time. So posting updates and stuff, a little bit probably more important for Chris, but it does make me wonder with Ramy, like what I just said with the confidence thing, Chris knows he looks good. He's posting these updates because he knows people are going to be talking and saying how good he looks. They think he's going to win. He knows that he looks so good in these updates. There's nobody really coming out with an opinion that he looks bad or that he's not going to defend his title. And it makes me wonder why Ramy doesn't have that same energy. Now, granted, he doesn't have to. He doesn't have to show us anything. But I do think times have changed. With social media, I think there's a little bit more access that people want to these bodybuilders. But like I said, he doesn't have to show us anything. But it makes me kind of curious that with Chris Bumstead being as confident as he is, why we don't see a little bit more of that confidence from Ramy, because really there'd be no downside to posting a physique update if you were confident that you look that good if you were Ramy. What would the downside be to be posting like a crazy side tricep or a crazy side chest, even in a tank top like Chris is? And one thing I really think, if he hasn't already, if Chris continues his reign and the men's open bodybuilding title continues to change hands, it went from Phil to Sean to Brandon to Ramy. If it goes to somebody new this year and we don't have like an established reigning champion, I can see the popularity of both classic physique and Chris Bumstead potentially surpassing bodybuilding in the near future. I think Chris will be the more popular Mr. Olympia champion in the near future. Again, if he continues to win several more, his social media presence, obviously, it's really not going to go in reverse. I mean, once he's been on top for a couple more years, which I think he will be, I think he's probably going to be like a 5 or 6 time champion. I think he could surpass the popularity of men's open bodybuilding, and that's kind of why I make the argument so frequently about him getting paid higher, or classic in general getting paid more at both the Olympia and the Arnold, the highest levels in the sport. I mean, let's be realistic and talk about this. I'd love to see you guys discuss this in the comment section, but just give me your opinion on what you guys think about that. Do you think that the popularity of classic physique and Chris Bumstead could surpass that on the Olympia level of men's open bodybuilding? Or, here's a hot take, has it already? Because look, I've kind of changed my stance over time a little bit on men's open bodybuilding. I was constantly pushing for more aesthetic men's open guys. But then we got classic physique, and it made perfect sense to me. Now we've got this division that is just for appreciation of the aesthetic physique and these old school looking guys. So we can focus on doing that to the maximum extent. Men's open bodybuilding, we can keep the biggest of the biggest, the freakiest of the freakiest, these mass monsters like Big Ramy and Nick Walker. That's what really sells tickets and puts people in seats and gets people talking, is the mass monster in bodybuilding. So now that we have this separate division just for classic physique that's rapidly gaining popularity, it's only been around since 2016. It's not even 5 years. That division really gives us the aesthetics we want. In men's open bodybuilding, really my only criticism is keep the bubble guts away, control your abs, control your midsection in the poses. Don't let your midsection get blown out and uncontrollable. As long as you keep that away and your conditioning's tight, you're balanced, you're proportioned, your posing is good, you don't have to be the most aesthetic guy in men's open, because now we've got the most aesthetic guy contest, essentially, in classic physique. So I become a little bit less strict about how aesthetic I want these guys to look. While it is nice in men's open bodybuilding to see a really big dude, 260, 270, that still has some pretty good flow to his physique, that's nice, that's cool, but it doesn't have to be that now. That doesn't have to be the standard because it's got its own category. But anyway, I'm rambling. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Please give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. If you liked it, just like it. It's free. It's easy. It really helps out more than you guys know. So I'd really appreciate it. As always, I love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power signing out.